there's criteria with a recall, and there's and criteria. What I mean by that is, well, it's not just the recalls. Most obedience commands. So obedience, what we call training problems, is things we want from the dog that is not natural. Okay, dogs don't like. No animal really sits for their food. Yeah. But our dogs do. Yeah. They don't really get called. You know, they get signals and then they decide what they want to do. But there's no real recall like we would have. So you have, and this is what I'm saying to a lot of people. So you've got your temptation proofing, you've got your generalization, but then there's criteria that you can at some point in time correct a dog for. So correct could be helping them, or you can actually discipline them. Like, okay, well, now you've made a mistake, here's a penalty, right? Whatever you want to see. So generally when I discipline a dog, it's not because I'm trying to create behavior. I'm trying to stop something. So just get that clear, right? Yeah. One is called non-compliance within 2 seconds.
This is what he's doing right now.
Yeah. So if you say come and a dog's like kind of wandering a little bit and takes them like 5, 10, 20 seconds and then they turn to you to come, that's non-compliance.
Yeah. Okay.
So if I have a dog that's 100 meters away, and this has happened with Zeus, I have it on some video, like I call him and he immediately turns and he's on his way. It takes him about 20 seconds to get to me because he only has 3 legs. So it's not about how long it takes him to get to me. It's about
the turn.
The recall is that turn, right? So that's non-compliance. So I give my dogs 2 seconds to comply. Because there are some situations where even 2 seconds is too much. Especially if, let's say, I hit a ball, Ziva tries to grab it, she hits it with her nose because she has no front teeth. And I'm like, crap, the ball just is going to, I don't know, across the road. Or it's going to fall into the crocodile river. I don't know. And I'm like, come, she needs to... There can't be this like 5 seconds of whoop. Right, it's like 2 seconds. That's what you got. And recall to me is one of those, it's kind of like learning how to do like an emergency stop with no brakes, like handbrake and stuff like that. There are certain skills we really should learn, like first aid. That's what a recall is to me.
So how do you teach that?
Well, that's a question for another lesson.
Okay.
Because that's harder to just...
Okay.
The other one is disobedience. Disobedience is, let's say I'm recalling the dog, he's about halfway and he changes his mind. It's like, I'm just going to go there. That's disobedience, like, nah. Or he's like, I'm just going to run past you. Right? It's like, no. If I tell my dog to sit, let's say you do a sit stay, right? And the dog's like, I think 5 minutes is long enough. I'm going to get up and move over there, put my butt there. No. Yeah. So disobedience and non-compliance, you need to understand it if you want to correct it. Because if you don't understand it and you're correcting it, that's not fair. Because you can't really explain it to the dog. Now, what I love about recall is most people will call their dog, like they'll play with them, away from shade when it's very hot. And then they go, why is my dog not recalling? I'm like, because you're an idiot. I mean, me and the dog will wait in shade. You know, and that's a very rare recall. Like, let's say I see there's a snake in the shade and I'm like, you're coming. How would my dog know it's one of those? So that's one of those behaviors where I very rarely will practice it. Because it's one of those hard ones. Like, you don't do 1 rep max every training session, right? As far as I'm aware. Some people are silly enough to do that. Fine. I'm not judging them. Eventually it won't work. And then that's when the damage happens. So that's one of those really super difficult ones. Ziva's been snake avoidance trained. So if I call her, right, and she runs to me and she does this, then I know something's there. So I have to be very careful with her. But I can read her. I can see when she's changed her mind and when she's like, I'm just going to, just alter the angle a bit. So you got to get to know your dog, right? So usually I'm like, there must be something there. I'm not going to look for it because that makes no sense. Yeah. What if someone dropped poison there? Yeah. What if there's a bear trap for all I know? Like, I think it's fair enough for dogs to avoid certain obstacles, you know, like falling down a cliff. I don't know. So sometimes we really have to make sure that we're reasonable. Ferret training. I learned this from a guy who trains ferrets. So if you call a ferret and there's something flying over, they stop because now it's about their safety. And if the recall doesn't keep them safe, they will never respond ever again. So that's why you first do temptation training. And then you need to do threat training. And threat training is about teaching you, so when do I not recall my dog? And that's a lesson in itself. And that's not a lesson that most people learn. They learn it the hard way, like I did. Luckily, Ziva nothing happened to her, but I had a heart attack. And I was like, oh my goodness. That's why I teach people, whenever we do recall, we still do the foundation. So we have a leave it, so you're not always recalling your dog. We have a recall, but we also have a, hey, we're changing direction.
Okay.
So I give people options, because there is a time and a place for a recall. Okay.
Okay.